Hello, my name is Crystal Lee, and I am a mock class mentor with VIPKID as of the making of this video. The purpose of this video is to help applicants acclimate as quickly as possible in order for them to be able to add some extra tools to their belt and be able to give the students that they will be teaching, hopefully here soon, the best quality class possible. These are the things that I'll be discussing today in the video. If you have something specific that you're looking to learn more about, just go to these timestamps and save yourself some time. First things first is TPR. Now this is something that's very confusing because VIPKID has a special definition of TPR that also includes gestures in it. So there is two types of TPR with VIPKID. There's the educational TPR, and that's what I'm going to be talking about. So classically, TPR is considered student movement in association with new content learning. So you can do all the movements you want, but until your student is reciprocating those movements, it does not count as educational TPR. So the way that we get the students to, or the way that I have found to get the students to do TPR in my classes with VIPKID is utilizing something called Scoopy hands. So here is where TPR gets a little confusing. If you say the word ball and then you're holding your hand like this, you say ball, and then you do this, you've just gone from doing a gesture to telling the student to give you a verbal response. So if you want the gesture, stick with the gesture. So you teach ball, have them repeat. Ball, have them repeat. Then do the gesture, ball. And then in Asia, the come here is Scoopy hands. So I use Scoopy hands and then the student's name and then the gesture, and that's it. So it'll be something like ball, ball, Shelby. And then I hold the gesture for an awkwardly long time while inviting the student to do the gesture with me. There you go, that's TPR. Let's see, the other things that I see a lot is, can you show me? Now, I know that's probably in a video. I've never had luck with that, so you can always keep it in your repertoire, but also include Scoopy hands in there as well. So try can you show me? If it doesn't work, Scoopy hands or vice versa. There we go. So we have, and also there's this gifting hands thing that are like the presenting hands, like fly. Oh, my green screen is taking out my hands. So if you do this, say the word, and then do presenting hands, chances are your student may also just say the word. This may elicit a response. I've had greater luck with this gesture, student name, and then just pointing to my hands and doing the gesture. All right, so that's TPR. VIPKID has the IP-AED curriculum as of the making of this video, so that the A slide, we want the student to be independent. So they're applying the things that they've learned on the previous slides. One of the very confusing parts of this is getting the student to answer the question in a complete sentence. So sometimes there is a question like, for example, who flies a kite? That's listed in the teacher directions. So by the A slide, we want the student to be independently answering who flies a kite in a complete sentence. So the way that we do that, maybe you'll say, she flies a kite, and have them repeat, who flies a kite? Chances are they'll just repeat it. So if you're having that problem, you can always use a surrogate student. Oh, Mike, your face. Have a surrogate student in hand, ask them, Mike, who flies a kite? She flies a kite. Good job, Mike. Or Shelby, who flies a kite? She flies a kite. And so you're leading them to break the cycle of repeat, repeat, repeat. And then you have already taught them the elicitation. So when you're asking a question that refers back to that elicitation, it'll be easy for the student to understand that A equals A, B equals B, C does not equal C, C equals B. We've learned this B sentence frame. Please say B sentence frame when I say C question frame. There you go. Also, with the IPAED, take a really, really close look at the teacher directions. There are a lot of videos that have a lot of really great tools, but they're not utilizing the question frames that are in the teacher directions, or they're utilizing just slight variants of what the teacher directions are asking for. So look at your teacher directions to make sure you're on objective. Repetition and ping-ponging. So with VIPKID, they want 50-50 student teachers speaking time, which is very different from the brick and mortar classroom. So you'll essentially be doing 5-ish things in every class. You'll say a single word, you'll say a sentence, you'll ask a question, you'll correct the student, and you'll give a direction like drag and drop or draw a line. So if you say a word, the student says a word. You say a sentence, the student says a sentence. You ask a question, the student answers the question in a complete sentence. You give a correction, the student repeats that. You give a direction, the student follows the direction. So that's how we get that 50-50 back and forth. So if you say, who flies a kite? Drag and drop. And then they're like, so then you have a question, you haven't allowed the student to give a complete sentence answer, you're saying drag and drop, and then they drag and drop. Separate those two things out. If you ask who flies a kite, get that student to answer that question before moving on to the next thing. With correcting the student, if the student is having an issue with pronunciation, like they say bow, make sure you are isolating the correction. So you may want to say ball and then really elongate that L phoneme that's at the end of the word. And then make sure that they're also repeating that after you. So ping-ponging, once again, 50-50. You say it one time, emphasizing the mistake, and then they are able to, I guess you wouldn't be emphasizing the correction, the corrective part, and then they'll repeat after you, understanding better what they did as the mistake, and then they'll correct it with your lovely guidance. Different modes of correction. If your student is saying something like she fly a kite, of course this is help and helps, but let's say she said she help. We could always use a supplementary tool, and that will give you a different form of correction. So you could say she, don't slam your hand into your microphone, but then you can always elicit the student to sort of self-correct with support with some supplementary tools. So that'll give you a variety of ways to correct the student. Full and complete sentences, always get them when you're asking a question. What is it? It is a kite. Make sure that they're always making complete sentences. What is your name? Crystal. Good. My name is Crystal. From the very get-go, you want to set the precedent that you'll be making complete sentences through the entire lesson. Don't just do the complete sentences on the videos that you have seen people elongate the single words out into complete sentences. VIPKID wants to see that an applicant can consistently apply that throughout the lesson. So just all the time, you ask a question, complete sentence answer. You ask a question, complete sentence answer. Just have that in your brain. One of the difficulties with the very low proficiency lessons is using incidental language. So we already talked about ping-ponging 50-50. Incidental language includes level inappropriate language, for example, switching verb tenses. So if you say, how are you doing today? You've just switched verb tenses from how are you to how are you doing today. So you don't want to do that. Just keep it to how are you, keep it simple. What is she doing is different than what does she do. Just make sure that you are staying as simple as possible so that you can limit the amount of incidental language that you're using with the student. Supplementary tools. So you can have as many supplementary tools as you can possibly juggle. The variety of supplementary tools does go into factor with VIPKID. So let's say I have a Meg, and they're not glitching out into oblivion, and a mic, and then I have this airplane. With this is one supplementary tool because it's one kind of supplementary tool. So you want to have a variety of different types. So always have just a variety, like have a ball, have a kite, an actual kite. If you make a kite made out of paper, and then you also have other paper supplementary tools, they may be counted as one supplementary tool. So have whiteboard, have puppets, have different realia that you can utilize to get as much out of your supplementary tool usage as possible. Oh, and name tags or whiteboards with your name on them do not count as supplementary tools. They have nothing to do with the content of the lesson. Supplementary tools have to have tangible connection to the content. Your name is not lesson content, so any name tags, while awesome, cool, use name tags, have your name on a whiteboard if you'd like, they don't count as supplementary tools, so just be very aware of that. Reward systems. So in the live lesson, you'll always have two reward systems. There'll be the internal stars reward system where you'll give the students stars progressively throughout the lesson. So there are 5 stars, 25-minute lesson, a star every 5 minutes. Or if they finished a chunk of lesson learning, like they finished the IPA, they've applied it appropriately, yay, you get a star for learning this chunk of the lesson. Now we move on to the next chunk. Then there's the secondary reward system in the mock class. It's drag and drop a toy. The secondary reward system is only limited by your own creativity. So the drag and drop the toys is included in the interactive classroom. You do not have to use it though. So if you have something else that you would like to use, go ahead and use it. If you want to use a puzzle, that's cool. If you want to use soccer balls, that's cool. If you want to maximize the student engagement in the lesson, you can always have them interact with the reward system. So with the interactive one in the lesson, it's easy. They drag and drop the toy, boom, they're interacting. With the puzzle, I like to get them all in place, and then maybe I'll give 3 puzzle pieces for every star in the live class. And then I'll ask, what do you see? And then sometimes they say, I don't know. That's cool. We'll just move on, and then we'll get more puzzle pieces. And hopefully by the end of the class, they'll learn that it's an ice cream. It's cool. One common mistake I see people make in the in the mock class with the reward systems is with the ice cream. They'll say, you get 1 ice cream, you get 2 ice creams, you get 3 ice creams. That's grammatically incorrect. Please don't say that. It hurts my ears every time I hear it. So ice cream is what we call a non-countable noun. You would have to add a countable unit of measurement in there for it to be grammatically correct. So for example, you get 1 scoop of ice cream, you get 2 scoops of ice cream, you get strawberry ice cream. That's cool. You get mint ice cream, you get chocolate ice cream. All of that is cool. When you start counting it, you cannot say you have 4 ice cream, and you can't say you have 4 ice creams. They need that unit of measurement in there. If you can't tell, I am a linguistic nerd, so there you go. Kind of have to be with this job. Please do be a linguistic nerd. Pacing. Nobody has good pacing. Hardly ever. I think I've done about 6,000 mock classes, and I've only had 1 applicant have great pacing. So pacing is maybe the last skill that you will perfect. Yes, worry about pacing. Do not make that your ultimate goal to get through every single slide within those 10 minutes. You will definitely miss out on a lot of other opportunities for the student interaction and meeting objectives if you only worry about pacing. So put that at the back of your mind. Here are some tips to have better pacing. Don't repeat after the student if they make a correct utterance. So for example, oftentimes they'll ask me, how old are you? And I'll say, I am 8 years old. They'll say, great, you are 8 years old. Good, 8. All of that, you are 8 years old, good, 8, has no bearing on the lesson, and it's just wasting your time. Don't say it. So don't repeat after the student for correct utterances. Make sure what you are correcting needs corrections. Sometimes the applicant will ask, how old are you? And I'll say, I am 8 years old. This is 8, by the way, and counting in Chinese hands, they can count to 10 with one hand, which is amazing. So let's see. Don't correct that. There's some videos that show people correcting, how old are you? And then they correct it with their student. But in my case, I don't need correcting for that. So don't do it. Don't get so scripted on those videos that you're bringing in inapplicable stuff into your student's classroom in the mock class. Be adaptable and correct where it counts. Anything else? Repeating after student. Okay, 1 minute per slide. 1 minute per slide is an overgeneralization in my mind. With the intro slide, that doesn't need to take any more than 30 seconds. Hello, get the student to answer. My name is Crystal. What is your name? My name is Shelby. Good job, Shelby. How old are you? 8. All right, good. I am 8 years old. I am 8 years old. Good job, Shelby. Are you ready? Yes, I'm ready. Good. Let's go. So there you go. About 30 seconds and you're done with intro. Introducing the reward system shouldn't take more than 15 seconds. So you got 45 seconds and you're through 2 slides. Then you can kind of count on a less variable scale for the teaching slides, but you want to get into those teaching slides as quickly as possible because that's where the bulk of your cumbersome lesson comes into place. So for the objectives, the IPA, sometimes on the A slide, there will be a question frame. Sometimes that question frame will be listed in the teacher directions on the P slide. Look at the teacher directions. Look at the teacher directions. Do not rely on copying videos you've seen. Look at the teacher directions. Look at the teacher directions. Extension. So with extension, it is bring in stuff the student doesn't know. Sometimes I see people counting things as extension. Sometimes the reward system can be counted as extension if it's something the student doesn't know. Pay very close attention to this document called Student Prior Knowledge Level 2. Things like soccer is already in there. Ball is learned in Lesson A. So soccer ball may or may not be counted as extension. I personally probably wouldn't count it as extension because soccer is already in the student's prior knowledge. I don't enjoy counting as being extension, nor do I enjoy colors being extension. What I would do with your student is see if they know how to count, like, how many soccer balls do you see? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and then see if they can count on their own. If they can, rad, then that won't count as extension. But teach them something like, I kick a soccer ball, kick. I kick a soccer ball, and then have them learn the word kick or something like that. Colors, there's another thing that is not included on student prior knowledge sheet that you've been provided, but it's another thing that I wouldn't rely on as extension, even though it would technically count as extension in the mock class. Like I said, you can bring in different kind of balls. Teach American football versus the rest of the world football. Soccer is football for the rest of the world. So maybe teaching American football would be a good idea with toys, teaching them different types of toys like a top, having, what else? Teddy bear. You're learning about toys. Teach them different names of different toys. That would be considered a great extension, and it's content-based. Classroom commands, otherwise known as ITPR in VIPKID, so that's instructional TPR. That one includes gestures and verbal commands in alignment with the VIPKID stuff. So drag and drop, draw a line, circle, things like that. So you want your verbal commands and your gestural commands to be in alignment. If you say, circle the ball and then hold your hand to your ear, what do you want the student to do? Do you want them to say circle the ball, or do you want them to circle the ball? Don't hold your hand to your ear then. So with that also, I've noticed that some applicants pull away the verbal and only leave the gestural. So they'll say ball, and then they'll just use this gestural command. So here's the problem with that. This is a language classroom. Gestures are a means of support when a student doesn't understand exactly what's being said verbally. So what we would like to do to get the student to be independent is to use the gestures in association with the verbal, and then pull away the gestures and only leave the verbal. If you're only leaving the verbal, your student has gotten to the pinnacle of what you can expect for their comprehension skills. So do not only do gestures. If you always want to do gestures, that's rad. Always do the verbal then. If you're only doing gestures and you're doing zero verbal, you're missing the point of learning English. Student output. So this is pretty easy for just the intro slide alone. A lot of people will say, hello, my name is Crystal. What is your name? So here we have a hello. That's an opportunity for the student to reciprocate the greeting. So say hello, and then get them to say hello back at you. That's just being acutely aware of opportunities for the student to speak and reciprocate. So just keep that in mind. Everything you say, can it have student reciprocation? Is there meaning for it? Create meaning for it. If not, so my name is Crystal. What is your name? And then the other thing I see is how are you? Are you happy or sad? And then they'll bring up some supplementary tools. Well, you said, how are you? You don't allow the student to respond, and then you're automatically coming in with these supplementary tools, which is great, but you don't know if I need them. So once again, adapting to your student, how are you is in the student's prior knowledge. I personally, as a student, will never need those happy or sad things. I'm glad that you have them just in case. Use them if you need them. They're there for support if you need them. Don't just jump in assuming that your student can't answer how are you unless they have shown you that they need that. So there you go. Sometimes supplementary tools are just there if you need them and you never get to use them. And that's rad because your student already knows it. So that's cool. Student engagement and content delivery. So we are on an online platform. This is more for the live lessons rather than for the mock class, but be acutely aware that your student may not be looking at your screen. They may be having, something else up in the foreground. So if you are doing a repeat, I say you repeat, I say you repeat, I say you repeat, especially with those reading slides. So things like ip, ip, sip, ip, sip. Now, what changes if I completely cover my eyes? I'm not looking at the screen. Ip, sip, sip. I'm not looking at the screen, and yet I've still gotten the full repetition out of you, just like if I were looking at the screen. So that's where drawing lines and circling on the screen, the student drawing lines and circling on the screen is an important engagement tool to use. So maybe we'll do zip, zip, and have them repeat circle, zip. And then that's where you will get that retention check. Because if I'm looking over here and saying zip, zip, I'm not reading. So get them engaged in the slide. Circle kite, Circle the ball, circle kite, meaning circle the word kite, circle the ball, meaning circle the image of the ball. Those are two very important distinctions to make. Let's see here. So student engagement of the slide. Applicants are very concerned with their markings on the slide. Does no good if I'm not looking at it, which I'm probably not, because I'm probably taking notes and just saying, you know, ball, she flies a kite, you know, all this stuff. And I'm not really looking at the slide. I just can see if the applicant has written on the slide. That's cool and all. But getting the student to write on the slide and engage in the slide is a very important element for student engagement. Rapport building. Now this one's a little bit of maybe my own pet peeve. So you've said hello, the student said hello, you've introduced yourself, you've asked the student's name, they've responded in a complete sentence, you've asked how are you, they've answered in a complete sentence, or you've answered you've asked how old are you, they answer in a complete sentence. That's good for rapport building. The thing that I see applicants do is they use my name every 3 seconds. And it starts to really get on my nerves. So just imagine, let's say Mark. I know you're watching this video, Mark. So Mark, I think that you're a great applicant, Mark. But Mark, if you would just use my name a little bit less, Mark, I think that the student would be more willing to listen to what you're saying, Mark. So Mark, when we're doing the lesson, try not to use my name so often, Mark. Is that cool, Mark? So you see how Mark's probably really annoyed at this point because I've just used his name so much. It starts to become either white noise to where it loses its effect. We use the student's name to get their attention, to look at the slide, to say, good job, Mark, high five, whoosh. That's an effective use of the student's name. Using the student's name 50 times in 10 minutes is just going to either become white noise or become really obnoxious. So walk that really great tightrope of using the student's name, having it be an effective use of their name. Don't use it so much that your student's never going to want to talk to you again. Or maybe that's just me. If you do get to the end of the lesson in the 10 minutes, don't forget to say goodbye to your student. The very last slide is the goodbye slide. Whenever people do finish all of the slides within the 10 minutes, they have a tendency to just sit there like, okay, have a nice day. And then as a student, I'm like, bye. Oh, goodbye. So they do one of two things. They don't say goodbye, and they also don't flip to the final slide. That is the actual goodbye slide. So if you are able to get through all the slides in 10 minutes, make sure you flip to that goodbye slide and end with a nice solid goodbye. Language proficiency. If you are going for a contract teaching English as a second language, you should have mastery of the English language. Now, that does not mean that you speak English. A lot of English speakers make a lot of assumptions on their abilities to teach English based on their abilities to speak English. So, if you were planning on introducing your reward system with the phrase, okay, if you do good, you get a toy. Can you self-correct that to be a grammatically correct sentence? Do you recognize that it's not a grammatically correct sentence? It's a colloquially correct sentence, meaning when you're chatting with your friends or family or a very relaxed environment, if you do good is completely acceptable. If you do well, on the other hand, it talks about the student's skills rather than good versus evil. So unless you want the student to do good and not be evil in your lesson, please say if you do well, you will get blah, blah, blah. And we already talked about the 3 ice creams with the non-countable nouns versus the countable nouns. If you don't know what a non-countable noun versus a countable noun is, Google is your friend. Synthetic phonics. So there is a video in the prep materials provided to all VIPKID applicants that goes over the synthetic phonics. The things that I would pay close attention to if I were you is the vowel sounds, the those are the 5 synthetic vowel sounds, short vowel sounds that VIPKID will be using in the consonant vowel consonant curriculum that they teach. If you want to know a quick and easy shortcut to making the correct short vowel sounds according to the VIPKID synthetic phonics curriculum, you can use the Crystal Lee patent pending method of the B blank T sound. So any vowel that you put in between B and T will be the synthetic short vowel sound that VIPKID uses. So A would be bat, a, E would be bet, I would be bit, it, bit. O would be bot, and U is but, So B blank T. That's how you'll make the vowel sounds. The other ones to pay close attention to are the unvoiced versus voiced synthetic phonic sounds. So there is the S, which is the unvoiced. So there's no Z there. Otherwise, you're making the Z sound. Z is voiced with the same mouth shape that you're using for the S. If you'll notice, S, no voice, Z, same mouth, add the voice. So there you go. Voiced versus unvoiced synthetic phonics or phonics. There you go. VIPKID is looking for your efficiency and ability to use the interactive functionalities in the mock class. So that's having the student utilize the drag and drop functions on the slides appropriately, and your ability to use the back arrow from the reward slides to navigate to and from the reward slide. So use the gift box to go to the reward slide. Then in that reward slide on the bottom left will be an arrow that says go back. Click that to go back to your previous slide. One thing I see applicants doing is erasing the slide after the student draws a line, like kite to kite. They'll erase the slide before asking them to draw a line to the doll. I don't know why people do that. It just seems like an extra step that might take up too much time. Also, resetting the slide after the student has done the correct drag and drop of fly and flies. I can't see a purpose in doing that, but it's not necessarily wrong. Just realize that if somebody's done it in a video, you don't also have to do that. Freedom of choice. These next 4 I'll go through pretty quickly. It's attitude, patience, behavior, and appearance. Attitude, staying very happy throughout the entire 10 minutes that you're teaching. If after that you want to get an attitude with your mock class mentor, that's totally your prerogative. It goes in, there is 0 feedback that we give HO about your interaction with the mock class mentor itself. It's only those 10 minutes that count. So be very happy and proud of the student. Be very patient with the student. If you ask a question, shut up. What is it? Let the student answer. Very often we'll have, what is it? It is a kite. You've just answered your own question. So don't ask the question unless you want the student to answer. If the student hasn't learned it yet, don't ask the question. Scaffold appropriately until your student can answer that question independently. Another thing I see is, what is it? What is it? And they'll ask the question twice. And then when you ask, what is it? I'm probably going to start answering doll or kite and seeing if you'll get that complete sentence answer out of me. If you say, what is it? And I say doll, and you say, what is it? And then I'm already saying doll, you're interrupting me. You're not being patient. You've asked a question and then you've interrupted me trying to answer it. It doesn't feel good. So be patient. Okay, so behavior is how attentive you are to the lesson at hand. Are you getting a notification on your phone? I don't even know where my phone is right now. So that's probably where it should be for you too. Your phone should be silent, away, not distracting you. Don't be texting, of course. Don't eat anything. Don't drink anything during your 10-minute teaching time. If you would like to take a drink before or after that teaching time starts, cool, you're free to do so. Whenever it comes time with you and the student, be there for the student for that 10 minutes without being distracted at all. And then the last thing is appearance. Do you look like a professional? Meaning, please don't have a raggedy t-shirt from your alma mater on. I would suggest dressing like you're going to an interview at any brick and mortar. So dress like you are a successful professional. I see many people in, so revealing clothing as well is a big no-no. So in Asia, the cleavage line is covered. Like, just don't show it. In America and Canada, things are a little bit more relaxed. Just don't. And then this hoodie that I'm wearing is a VIPKID licensed hoodie. So this would be considered professional because I am representing VIPKID. I'm not representing VIPKID in this video. I'm representing your interests. But anywho, with that, dress like a professional. T-shirts can and will be okay, but it looks better if you dress like you really are interested in being a professional. Be professional. Dress professionally. So that's the 4 aspects of disposition. Technology. This one's going to be a fun one. So there are 4 aspects of the environment that VIPKID's looking for. I'll go over background, position, and lighting first. So background, make sure it's a professional background that looks like an area that's utilized for teaching or like a classroom. This is not an appropriate background. It does not look like a classroom. It doesn't have my name on it. There's nothing that you see here that would let you know that I was a teacher. So let me just fix that. Okay, this would be considered a more professional background. I look like I'm a teacher. I'm in a classroom. VIPKID is a classroom. So there you go. You may, in my live classroom, I use this exact background. And then I also have my name, Teacher Crystal, at the top. I've considered just doing Teacher Lee, but first names seem to be acceptable. So whatever. So you can use your first name or last name. It doesn't matter. So you may want to have your name up there. You may want to have a whiteboard or some sort of magnetic surface if you're doing a custom reward system. That way your reward system can be visible throughout the lesson. I used to have a giant whiteboard that I would write all the vocabulary words on and then be able to magnetize the supplementary tools onto. In my live classroom, I use a different green screen program. My hand does not glitch out in my live classroom. It's just the program that I'm using right now isn't as intuitive as the ones that I use in my live lessons. So technology, that's background, sorry. So position in the lesson, you want your camera at eye level or just, I have mine slightly above in case I would like to stand. And break it. I broke my whiteboard. Oh no, it's been through worse. So I can stand up in my lesson if I would like, if we're doing a verb like jump, I can annoy my downstairs neighbors with that. Let's see here. So position about an arm's length away is good. That way I have plenty of room on the right and left to present any broken supplementary tools that I have recently stepped on through trying to be comedic. Let's see. Lighting. Lighting should be evenly distributed with no shadows. Above lighting is your enemy. It will create shadows here. It won't give you a very good even lighting. Ooh, here's what I do. So I have floor lamps. This floor lamp with this armature here, like it's a reading light. It is 13 or so bucks from Walmart. So I have one of those over here, one of those over here. I have 60-watt bulbs in all of the lights. So I have lights here and lights here, and that allows me to get this amount of lighting. I use 60-watt light bulbs because of 100-watt light bulbs started to burn out the corneas in my eyes. So too much light is a bad thing as well. All right, the last thing is technology. So Wi-Fi, don't use it. In the VIPKID tech requirements page, it does say that an Ethernet, a wired connection is highly recommended. If you would like to provide the student with the most stable classroom possible, you will have a wired connection. Wi-Fi is a lot like a teenager. Sometimes it works out for you. Sometimes it doesn't, and you have no control over it whatsoever. So a wired connection will give you stability, and that you don't have to worry about your upload or download speed being variable. A wired connection will make it very, very stable. Have a wired connection. If you are on Wi-Fi and your mock class mentor mentioned something about instability, please don't say, oh, it's never been a problem before. I'll have to get my insert significant other to handle it. It's your business. Like, oh, okay, I'll make sure to take care of that. Period. Don't make any excuses for your inability to have a wired connection. Just say you'll take care of it and then do so. With Macintoshes, Apple users, there is some sort of programming error with either the Mac lens in the internal laptop cameras or in the VIPKID system that causes the camera to flash. If you reflect light into it a certain way, it'll just flash and flash and flash, and it just won't stop until you can reset that lens flare that's happening. I don't know why it happens. If it happens to you, you might need to get a USB camera. Just a warning for Mac people. I think that's it. So let me do the outro. One additional element about background that I forgot to mention earlier is noises. So do not have any electronic noises from your phone or let's see, I don't know, just no electronic noises. Ooh, beeping from your fire alarm because you need to replace the batteries. Replace your fire alarm batteries, people. It's been more than a dozen times that I've had to hear the beep of a smoke alarm that needs batteries replaced. Any electronic noises, just silence everything. Any noises from pets or roommates or children, make sure that you have full control over the audio that is in the background. There are some things that are outside of your sphere of control, such as your neighbor mowing the lawn, or if there's a thunderstorm, acts of God and things that you don't have control over. Totally cool. Your dog's barking in the background or your phone getting notifications, you do have control over that. You need to create a professional visual and auditory environment for your classroom. Okay, so that is all of the notes that I've been taking over the past 3 years on common mistakes or just things that applicants may not be aware of in the lessons. If any of these things apply to you, I hope that I've given you ways on fixing them. If not, ask questions in the comments below and I'll do my best to answer those in a timely manner. It's been my pleasure being helpful to you. Hopefully I've been helpful to you. Most of you probably have come here from my mock class, so hopefully this will give you the answers you need that we just don't have time to cover in the 25-minute mock classes themselves. Have a fantastic rest of your day and good luck on becoming contracted. Bye.